All right, guys, welcome back. I wanted to give some quick advice to new gun buyers, maybe just some advice on what to look for and how to pick your first gun. Um, this is going to be kind of off the cuff and off the top of my head, kind of what some things that I would have learned over the years and what I've seen and experienced after buying quite a few firearms and being in a lot of gun shops and hearing a lot of new gun buyers come in and talk to the staff at gun stores. And this is kind of what I've come across in my experience and kind of my experience with what guns that I have at home that I like the most, or what I may have been talked into by social media or by somebody at the gun counter and maybe have regretted. But my first advice would be to make sure that you do your research on maybe like small YouTube channels who have reviewed the gun or own the gun personally and maybe haven't been given the gun. The problem with doing research and clicking on the first video that pops up is those are going to be your big gun channels who have been given the gun and had to sign an affidavit basically stating that they would only say positive things about the gun, and they wouldn't state if there was any malfunctions or any problems or anything that they don't like about the gun. They've signed something saying they won't say that, and they're giving this gun, and they can either take the gun and maybe add it to their collection if they like it, or they can sell it if they don't like it and actually support their channel. And so it's like they're getting paid by equipment. And some of these bigger channels probably even get paid thousands of dollars for that YouTuber to review their gun. So the YouTuber has a lot of incentive to only say good things because they won't continue to get this revenue if they don't. So go to the small channels, find a few guns that you really are interested in, you like the way they look. Another thing I want to say is don't get a gun just based off what other people like and what other people are buying. Because, a lot of people are just going to go home with a Glock every time. And that's fine. Glocks are fine. Glocks are a good gun, to get for the first time. If it's what you like, if it's what fits your hand, if it's what works well for you, if it goes along with what kind of style that you like, then there's nothing wrong with getting a Glock. But if you like something better, don't just let somebody talk you into getting a Glock right off the bat. And I find so many people end up just going with a Glock because it's popular, because it's what you see the most on movies and things like that. And I say, go with what you like, go with the gun that, fits your hand. So that's another thing, is you want to make sure that the gun fits your hand properly, is comfortable in the hands, that you can get a good grip on it, that it has good texture for your particular hands. That may be super aggressive, that may be very little texture based off what your hand size is, how soft your hands are, just the kind of person, the kind of work that you do, that is going to depend and vary person to person. So make sure that you put it in your hands. I'm also going to say, make sure that the gun is not, make sure it fills your hand up, but is not smaller than your hand for a first gun. I don't think that a gun that your pinky sticking off the end of it is a good gun for your first gun, because it's going to be harder to control. It's going to make you dislike shooting more. It's going to make you less accurate, especially if you haven't got your fundamentals down yet. So get a gun that fills your hand up. It is not too small. Don't get a tiny little concealed carry piece for your first weapon. Get a medium to large gun for your first weapon. It's going to have less felt recoil. It's just going to feel better in your hands, unless you've got really tiny hands and you can swallow a P365 and it fits your hand really good, and there's your whole hand can get on it and purchase it really well, then maybe. But get a gun that your hand's not larger than the gun for your first gun. I think that's very important as well. But also, like we said earlier, don't let the person behind the gun counter who's trying to sell you a gun, don't let them tell you what gun you need to get. You need to know kind of what you want, what you like the looks of. You're not going to like a gun that you just can't stand the way it looks. You're probably not going to like it that much. I know it's a tool, And I get that, and I think it does need to be reliable. And that's why I said go to these gun channels, these smaller gun channels, and get their opinion. The people that have actually purchased these guns, get their opinion on it. Let them tell you the pros and the cons of that particular weapon. But yeah, get one that you know is reliable by reputation. Get one that fits your personality and your likes. Get one that fits your hands. Uh, I would say do the trigger test. Well, number one, let's say this too before we get started on this part. If you can rent the guns, several guns, and at least get an idea of what size and what type of gun that you like shooting the best, that's great. So rent some guns, rent several different sizes, several different manufacturers, and decide from what you like shooting. You know, what feels the best, what's going to make you want to go to the range on a weekly basis or a monthly basis and shoot rounds down range. What gun makes you want to do that the most? That's very important. Okay, guys. But if you can't do that, and you kind of have done your research and you kind of know what you're looking for, you can also do the trigger test. Always ask the guy behind the counter if it's okay for you to dry fire that gun, because that business does own that gun. But if they allow you to dry fire, and most of your smaller shops, local shops will allow you to dry fire, do the trigger test too, where you hold the gun, first safety check it, even though it's in a gun store and it's been safety checked. Go ahead and safety check it. That makes you look more competent. And then point the gun at the ground, or in a safe direction, or a wall or something. Don't point it nowhere near nobody. Don't ever point it near nobody or toward anybody, but point it in a safe direction. Pull the trigger slowly and just watch the gun real closely as you're pulling the trigger. And when the trigger breaks, did that gun vibrate or shake, or when the trigger went click, did it actually have any kind of unstableness to it in your hands, and with your grip strength and with your trigger strength, finger strength? Did it shake or vibrate when you pulled that trigger? If it did, it's probably not going to be a gun that you shoot very accurately, and you're probably not going to be very happy with it in the years to come. So get a gun that has a decent trigger, because it's going to make you more confident in shooting. It's going to make you enjoy shooting more. So the trigger check's always good. Is the trigger super mushy and gritty, and if it's all those things and you can really tell it, and even though you're new to shooting you can still tell it's that bad, then you probably shouldn't buy the gun. I think it's a sad thing, and just mention this quickly in my thoughts. I've gotten my daughter's Nerf guns. She has a few Nerf guns, and I'm like, man, if most guns would just had a trigger as good as this plastic trigger, you could shoot fantastic with most guns if they just had a trigger this good. And you're like, you spend $600, $500, $600, $700 on a gun, and its trigger is worse than a Nerf gun trigger. It's just kind of like, it blows my mind that, the engineers can't make something and design something to be more crisp and smooth with all that money than what they do. And it's made out of metal, which should be more slick than plastic on plastic. But yet a Nerf gun has a better trigger than a lot of the guns you buy nowadays. Anyway, that's just another thought for another day. So make sure the trigger's good. Make sure that the sights, make sure that you like the way the sights line up and the way they look. I would suggest getting a gun that you can get a red dot optic on eventually. So get one that's already red dot ready, optic ready for the future, because you might want to upgrade to that one day. And, like we've kind of briefly mentioned in this video, get a gun that fits your personality, and kind of, you're not going to buy clothes that you do not like to put on, or you don't think looks good on you, or it's just not your style. Don't buy a gun that's not your style. Also, make sure the gun is reliable, it's dependable, it's from a reputable manufacturer. But you can probably do all those things and still it be a gun that fits your style. You probably can find something like that. So find something that you enjoy looking at, that you enjoy having in your possession, because you're spending anywhere from $400 or $300, let's say $300 or $400, to say $1,200 on your first gun, why wouldn't it be something that you like to look at, that you like to have in your possession, not something that looks ugly to you or just looks cheap to you? Buy something you like, because there's plenty of guns, even in that lower price range. I think there's some budget-minded options that actually look better than some Glocks. And so if a Glock is not your style, then don't get it. If it's your style, then get it. If that's what you like, if you like the name Glock and you want it, then I'm bringing them up because they're most popular and most people know them. But get a gun that's your style, but it's also, like I said, you've had the research on it. It's reliable, durable, fits your hand, has good sights, triggers going to be something that complements your experience with a gun and helps you be the best that you can be with a gun. You don't want one that's just, if you're brand new and it's got a sloppy trigger and a really rough trigger, then you're never going to get into shooting. You're never going to shoot enough because you're never going to like the results that you're seeing when you're shooting. And so, and I know I've been bringing up Glock a lot because I'm not a huge Glock fan myself, and it's not really my style. But there's people with Glocks, stock Glocks, that can outshoot me, can shoot twice as quick and accurate as me with a $3,000, say, double stack 1911 or 2011 in my hands, and they can have a stock Glock and just way outshoot me. So I'm not I'm not bashing Glock, really. I'm just saying that for most people, a lot of people are going to like other guns better, or just to make sure that you find a gun that fits you and your personality and what you like, and has a trigger that's good enough, that's going to complement your skill set. And I think that's important, to have sights that's going to complement your skill set. That's another thing. Glock, you need to get rid of the sights right when you buy it. Whereas a lot of these, even Glock knockoffs, have way better sights, and I would probably suggest those because they're going to be easier to line up, easier to shoot good with, and they're going to be more durable than a Glock sights. So anyway, guys, I hope this advice kind of helps. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments or anything you would like to add to this video, because this is all off the top of my head, this was not rehearsed. So if there's anything I should add, please comment it below. Please like and subscribe. God bless and have a great day. Hope this helps you new shooters.